Only 1 in 5 survivors have met another survivor prior to coming to one of our events. And 94% of survivors say they had their needs met in hospital, yet only 35% say that they had their needs met post-discharge. And 94% of people say that they thought they needed more help than they actually received. So as a survivor, one of the 8%, you know the road to recovery is an uphill struggle sometimes, and that it's full of unexpected twists and turns. You may feel, or you have, escaped from the abyss, but you sometimes feel that pull. And as Gareth put so wisely, dying, as it turns out, is easy, survival is a whole lot harder. Quite likely that you felt a bit dazed and confused along the way, maybe even alone or even abandoned in some cases. And you may have experienced various physical, psychological and other issues such as fatigue, memory problems, anxiety, depression, and maybe you lost your job or you've had relationship problems, all sorts of issues across your whole life. This happened to me in April 2014. I took that photo a week before my cardiac arrest, and it sort of come to sum up my life, really. I don't know what that guy was doing, but I had to take a picture. Little did I know a week later. As I say, my world was turned upside down. My career ended at that point, and I essentially swapped roles with Tracy, my wife, in Lifesaver. And like I mentioned earlier, I was one of the 94% who had great care in hospital, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But perhaps the care post-discharge wasn't quite so good. And I was discharged with an idiopathic diagnosis, which is unknown cause. And so, being analytical in nature, I went looking for answers to find out what I'd been through and why. So I went looking on the internet. Dr. Google's not always a good place to go, but I happened to find this forum called Inspire back in 2014. And it was a US group, although it did have some UK-based survivors in it. And we got chatting and shared information. And then in February 2015, we met up in a pub in London. And there was 13 of us there that day, roughly half and half with survivors and partners, and we had a great afternoon, and there was lots of stories and tears shared, and there was a lot of connections made, and we realised the power of being together and understanding each other's story. So from there, I thought it was too good an opportunity to just let go, so I clicked a button one evening and created a Facebook group for us in the UK, and that's become Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK. And in those 3 or 4 years, it's sort of some great things have happened, including last year we set a Guinness World Record for the largest number of survivors in one place, and that was thanks to the guys from the Essex Cardiothoracic Centre and many others. There are many benefits to being in a group like Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK, and you can see a few of them here. I'll just tell you about a couple of them though. Number one, obviously, is that you don't feel alone. That so many people come in the group and say, I've never met another survivor or another partner, and it's so good to be in that group. And there's so many inspiring people within the group doing amazing things, which you'll hear a little bit from Charlotte later, but it's not just about raising money and giving back, but just pushing yourself sporting-wise and getting back up on your feet, basically. And one of the other good things is there's so many shared stories and nuggets of information that we capture those, or I capture some of those and put them into educational resources, of which there are quite a few now. And first one is the website, where we've got well over 200 pages, I think it is now. That's a little bit out of date. Lots of resources that are patient-focused rather than what you tend to see on some of the big sites where are very medically focused. And we got the blog stories where people have actually written their own personal experience. We've got a leaflet as well that SADS UK have had published for us, and we distributed about 10,000 copies of those. And hopefully we've got some more out in our stand area, so if you want to pick some of those up and put them in your own cardiac centre, please do. Also within the Facebook group there's something called learning units that Facebook are actually sort of realising the power of the groups they've got, and so if you don't know about it, they're not always easy to find. Do go and check them out, but they collate a lot of the information that we've got on the website and some of the polls and things like that within the group. As I mentioned, people do have mental health issues, and if you find yourself struggling and you can't get timely help through your GP or other NHS provider, do contact SADS because you can get 6 free sessions through them. So thank you very much, Anne and John, for that. And some of the articles that we've had on the website have been compiled into a book, both ebook and a paperback, which is available through Amazon, and also we've got a number of copies over in the exhibition area. And if you're lucky, Dr. Keeble might even sign it for you, because he... And we've got, recently I've just gone into producing a podcast, which some of you have been guests on, and thank you very much for those, but I do give it a listen. Had lots of nice feedback for that. So just a sort of recap on what I've learnt in my time as being a survivor and owner of the group, or runner of the group, that it's a really powerful thing to be in a community like Sudden Cardiac Arrest UK, that we as patients aren't just a cardiac patient, where we got physical and psychological issues that aren't really being addressed. Not a lot of people get it, and unfortunately that includes some of the medical profession, not people here, by the way. And services are there that we could deal with, but quite often fall through those cracks and don't get them. And I believe that's because there isn't a NHS care pathway for us. And I believe that care pathway should be more of a proactive service so that we can nip some of the problems like PTSD in the bud. And the government and other agencies are pushing to improve the survival rate over the UK in the next few years with AEDs and compulsory CPR training in school. So there's only going to be more people like us, which is great, but we don't want them to go through some of the problems that some of us have. And the people involved in the chain of survival are doing a fantastic job to keeping us alive. We wouldn't be here without them, but some of us need that extra link in the chain to help us retain a quality of life, a good quality of life. So my last little nugget of what I've learned is about normal. We all talk about trying to get back to normal or finding our new normal, but what is normal? Normal really is individual to us, and it changes throughout our lives, and it's normally something that happens slowly perhaps, but more quickly maybe with big life events like marriages and births of child. But for us, we had a quick, sudden and dramatic change in our life, and that takes time to get used to, and we all say time is a healer, and I think that is true in our case. And I come up with a little acronym of R. It's not an R moment, it's something, a sort of realisation really. And the first day is that we should really acknowledge what we've been through, the trauma that we've endured in our family, and we need to move on and accept what's happened and sort of take stock of where we are at the moment. Adapt our behaviours and our thoughts to move forward. Winston Churchill once said, when you're going through hell, keep going, and I think that's very applicable to us. And the last one is the H, the help. Make sure that you get help, whether it's from peer members or medical professionals, because going through it is not easy on your own. Sort of the next steps of the group. I'd like the group to grow because 2,500 people a year in the UK survive cardiac arrest, but we're only just scratching the surface of the members basically. I'd like more people to share within the group and share their stories on the blog, because I know it's a real win-win. When you write it, so many people say what a cathartic experience it is putting it down on paper, and when other people read it, they get benefit from it too. And also to share outside of the group, so that next month is October and it's Sudden Cardiac Arrest Awareness Month. It's something that was started in the US, but I've sort of piggybacked on their campaigns, and the last couple of years has been quite successful. So if you can share that in Facebook and outside. And these meetups are absolutely fantastic to get people together and share experiences, and the face-to-face experience is so much better than just the online experience. And we've had a few meetups across the country, but they've been a little bit sporadic, and it would be great to get a more coordinated approach. So if anyone wants to step forward and help us with those, I've already had a few volunteers. And lastly here is maybe we should become a more formal organisation, because we've done quite a lot just as an informal group of people, but I think we could tap into more resources if we were something more formal. But it's not something I've done before, and if people want to volunteer or have got information experience, please let me know. And that brings me to today. It's Rutland 2019. Thanks to many people, as Tom has already said, we got here today. But it's the day for you. Look around you, and all these people will get it. You understand. So share and engage with each other. You guys are the experts here. So do talk with each other. And I think that's a great quote. I won't say it now, but it's so true, I think. And talking of experts, we've got a great lineup of speakers here with, you know, and I think it's probably the best lineup of speakers for cardiac arrest survivors, possibly ever, certainly in this country, but there's a lot of people with a lot of experience going to talk about a lot of really interesting subjects specifically for you guys. And we've also, as Ellie mentioned, we've got sessions on mindfulness, CPR and counselling if you need them. And lastly, just to reiterate what Tom said earlier, thank you to our sponsors, our partners, SADS and Heartwise and the Cardiothoracic Centre, the volunteers, the speakers and the other organisers, and in particular to Mr. Keeble, or Dr. Keeble I should say, because he's been a superb advocate for our group, and without his help doing the webinars, the podcasts and all this sort of stuff, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are now. Thank you very much.